Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for our preview of Chelsea against Tottenham in the Carabao Cup Semi Final. But let's not kid ourselves. The main talking point is again going to be Romelu Lukaku because that's all we've been talking about for the last week. And of course, Thomas Tuchel did give his pre-match press conference today, which also was pretty much solely about Romelu Lukaku because that's all there is to talk about these days. Because who cares about the Carabao Cup apparently? No matter whether we play Spurs and Conte and blah blah blah, but there's a lot to get through. And I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I still don't really know where I stand and what I think and what my decision is about this Lukaku. Do I go along with Tuchel? Do I go along with some other people? I don't know yet. Maybe this stream will help me make a decision. We'll find out. We'll find out. But as you can see on screen, we're joined by a long lost guest. By a guest I'm very glad to see a return to the channel. Jam, it's been a hot minute. I hope you've been really well. Hope you had a nice Christmas and New Year's and stuff. But how you been, aside from the Lukaku stuff, let's say? And glad to have you back, bro.
Yeah, man. It's been a while coming, man. You keep messaging me about coming back on, and my life's been so busy in the last couple of months. But always a pleasure to be back on. I've been really good. Had a great Christmas, had a great New Year's as well, and just cracking on with 2020. 2022. I mean, what about yourself, mate? How was your Christmas?
I know it was good. It was good, mate. Not much to complain about, really. I mean, just busy with. I mean, initially just our bad form, and then this Lukaku drama. I mean, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously follow you on Twitter and stuff, so I have a rough idea of what your opinions are about things. I just watched the videos you uploaded earlier as well. But how's it been for you? Because obviously the Chelsea fan base has, let's say, to 99% all back Thomas Tuchel, but there's still slight differences in opinions, like how angry people were, how angry people still are. How do you feel about everything?
Well, look, I mean, the way that the information was presented to us, it was almost like a drama series. Do you know what I mean? It was just drip fed day after day after day. And for me, I've got a high tolerance bar for things like this. Initially, I just wanted the best for Chelsea. I wanted, and what I thought that was for him to play against Liverpool at least, and to keep playing and just say sorry, get a fine, get a slap on the wrist, whatever. But the more I actually had time to process it, the more information that was coming out, it was almost getting worse and worse and worse. And everyone's got their own principles they stick to in life. And everyone's got their limits. This is the thing. This is why it's a bit different for everyone. I have to admit, I lost the plot. I think it was day 3. That stuff that came out, I just added it all up and I said, this guy, yo, be wildin'. Do you know what I mean? like he would say. But it was just too much, man. Like I just got very angry with him. And the thing is, at that moment, the silence was deafening. I know that Chelsea wanted to do damage limitation, manage it the best way possible without this blowing up like Chernobyl. But it was a bit too late in a sense. And I'm not blaming the club. I'm just saying Lukaku was quiet. And he still has been. I mean, obviously, he's spoken to his teammates, spoken to Tuchel, spoken to the board, he's spoken to Chelsea, but not the fans yet. I personally, with my principles, would like to see an apology. And he might not mean it. I almost don't care. I need him to apologize because I know that it's going to hurt his ego. And I think he's very egotistical. So I think this will hurt. And it needs to be hard for him. He needs to know that he now needs to graft. He needs to work hard to get back to any kind of level of love with the Chelsea fans and me personally. For me, he needs to apologise. And he needs to... I need to see him putting in even more work. Do you know what I mean? This is now, I said it on my video, he's turned it up from professional difficulty to ultimate, which means he needs to work 5 times harder with everything he does. Otherwise, with every bad thing he does, he's going to get scrutinised 5 times more than he would do. So for me personally, I'm backing Tuchel. I'm going with what Tuchel says. And Tuchel has agreed from a professional point of view, I think, where he's gone, right, I know I need you to help get my team to the best possible finish for the rest of the season. So I'm just going to play you as I need to, and that's it. It's going to hurt Tuchel deep down, really it is. But he's just moving on with it professionally. This is why I love him. So I'm backing him. But then even Tuchel, when I think there was a question about Lukaku's longevity and the length of his contract and staying beyond maybe the summer, he said you have to ask him. So even he doesn't really know. So I think from a professional point of view, yeah, Lukaku, help us get us to where we need to be, then fuck off if you have to. Do you know what I mean? No one really cares. And sorry to swear, but that's how much it hurts, like down here. Do you know what I mean? And then there are people that I respect all points of views and opinions, but there are people that are saying, all right, water under the bridge, let's move on. Not for me, but you know, I think we all have to kind of respect each other's opinions here, to be fair. But I just find that weird personally.
It's a weird one for me because even over the last few days, and I'll get to you in just a second, Clutch, over the last few days, like, if people have watched my streams, like, I've had moments where I just all of a sudden go on a little rant for like a, 1 minute monologue rant. I'm just shouting things, basically. And then I have moments in the day where I'm like, not like forgiving him or excusing him, not by any means, but then I'm thinking about like, yeah, but what do I get from being angry? Because I think of it in a way, well, if I'm angry at him now and he still plays now, that just takes away my own enjoyment in watching Chelsea. And I don't really want to do that either. So what does that help me? And I do agree with you, maybe for a slightly different reason. I'll get to that now, but I do agree with you that I want an apology. I want an apology for, I think you made a great point there that I hadn't even thought about like that in terms of, it hurts his ego, and he needs that. He needs a good humbling. And hey, maybe he's already had enough of a humbling, but giving an apology, ideally, in my opinion, in video form, not written on Instagram. I don't know. I don't know how to word that, but it's just like, it would almost seem like him having to acknowledge his humbling. While so far it's kind of like, I mean, we've been told like by Tuchel things and by the media things, but like if I see him doing a video apology, it's kind of like he acknowledges his mistake, number one, and also just humbling. And yeah, we can get to, is the apology going to be is it going to be sincere, or is it just pure BR bollocks? Do you know what I mean? And I get where people come from with that, but that's almost why I want an apology, because without that apology, I don't know how to feel about him. Because if he makes an apology, and to me at least, and maybe it would be naive to believe it, but again, that's why I want it as in video form and not as a written post. It will, at least from my perspective, I'm like, okay, that's crap. Like, you're just saying the typical PR statements like, oh, I'm sorry, I love Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? But if I feel any sort of sincerity in what he's saying, then I'm like, then I can back you again. Not back you the way before, but back you at least to the extent where it doesn't annoy me when I see you play. And I don't want it. I mean, yeah, people know I'm not a big fan of Alonso, but that will be different. I'm not a big fan of Alonso because he's not very good at football. And it's annoying when he has to play. But that would be a different scenario. So, and I kind of need an apology to make my mind up whether I want to continue being annoyed at him, or whether I want to start the process of forgiving him. And I feel, for me, at the moment, I feel I need that apology to even make a decision. I don't know, like right now, obviously, we have Thomas Tuchel speak. We'll get into more detail about what exactly Thomas Tuchel said in the press conference later. But like, he's kind of accepted it. But like Jam said, most likely, or there's a good chance, mostly for professional reasons. And, let's not forget, to the month 5 years ago, Diego Costa really, really, really wanted to leave for China. And then he was left out of a squad. We were told that it was for back problems, which it clearly wasn't. And then everything was fine. But 5 months later, still that text was sent by Conte. So that's also like, and I'm not saying I don't believe Tuchel by any means. I do believe him. And I do back him. But I want to have my own opinion for what happens moving forward. And I feel like without an apology, just him playing football is one thing. But these people are professional athletes, right? So, and like Jam just mentioned, Lukaku has a big ego. So whether he actually feels remorse or not, he wants to score goals regardless when he gets on the pitch. So that's why I'm not quite sure I agree with people that say, just go on the pitch, score goals, and then we'll over time forgive you. And yes, it would work like that, but that wouldn't show me whether he feels remorse about what he did. Because he probably, I would assume, wants to score goals regardless of whether he feels remorse or not. So it's a tough one for me. I'll go back to Jam about this in a minute. But Clutch, first of all, thank you for coming on. Sorry that I'm only getting to you now. How do you feel about it? Obviously, we've spoken about it plenty of context, but now that you've heard what Thomas Tuchel had to say, do you know where to sit, or do you maybe understand what I mean? Because I don't know if anybody understands what I mean, but it's just I feel like I need this.
You know I love when you go on your rants, Laurenz. It's one of my favorite things about this show. But I agree with what both of you are saying to a degree. I think the reason why we haven't seen an apology is because I think every time he's opened his mouth from when the interview came out and more stuff has come out, it's just gotten progressively worse. So the club has probably went and just said, no more, don't talk. We'll sort this out. We will get your apology ready, and that's just how it's going to happen. I don't know if we're ever going to know if he's truly remorseful. I mean, I think we're kind of seeing it a little bit because, I mean, he didn't play against Liverpool, one of our biggest games of the season. And I do think that took him down a little bit. Not a lot. I mean, who was it? Was it Jose that said he needs somebody to put his arm around him and tell him he's the man? That's who Lukaku is. And I think over time, I don't know if things will get better. But I think one of the best ways is you just got to do your job. That's personally how I think it. You just got to do your job. And then somebody said it in the chat, he needs to kiss the badge. I don't want to see him kissing the badge. That will be way more insulting to me as a fan.
Worse, yeah.
I just want you to go out there. And even if you go out there and score and put your hands up, like I know I did a bad thing, and just go on, just do that. And that's how you keep that going on. And I think Thomas Tuchel knows he's got a weapon that he needs to utilize. So is he going to take it to a person? I don't think he's the kind of guy. I think he's just the kind of guy like, hey, I know my squad. I know what I want. I'm going to use what I have, regardless of how I feel about them personally. So I think for Tuchel, he's doing all the right things. I'm really glad to see that the club is backing the manager rather than the $100 million player at this point. That is insanely positive for me. And I think we just move on from this. And as fans, it'll be harder to accept him because we know his heart's elsewhere. I mean, you can't take that back. But all you can do for us right now is win us things and help us win things. Yes, make an apology because maybe I wouldn't even try to explain it because maybe explaining it your way is going to end up making it worse because we may end up finding out like, no, you actually meant everything you said and maybe you're not settled here. And I shouldn't say here because I'm not in London, but I think the best thing for him is just to make the apology that the club puts out and then play the game. That's it. After that, we will make the decision. Maybe we find out you end up getting better. You like it here more. It ends up being better for you. Maybe that feelings change for you because I think it's his feelings that's got to change because ours are going to stay the same until his change. And he shows that and proves that to us.
I see what you're saying. For me, the whole just do your job, be professional like he claims to be when he's clearly not in that interview. The whole like scoring goals, but football as a fan, at least the way I'm a fan, is super an emotional thing, both in a positive and a negative way. So for me, it's I can't just sit there and say, just go and do your job because yes, for him, it's a job. But for me, it's not a job. And to know how badly do I want you to do well depends on how I feel about you. And I need to know what I need to feel. And I feel like I want an apology to help me know what to feel because, again, completely understand when people say the PR bollocks. And if there's ever a PR bollocks apology, that will help me decide and that will help me, well, not help me, but that will make me feel more against him than I arguably do right now. But if it gives it an apology that I feel seems sincere, even if I could be fooled, then I will at least back him and that will make me feel better about supporting Chelsea for the rest of the season. Do you get where I'm coming from, Jan? You muted, bro.
Yeah, my bad, sorry. I do get it. I think the point is, I made the point earlier, everyone deals with being let down differently. Not everyone grieves the same. Not everyone gets over things in the same way. If you break up with your girlfriend, everyone's different with how they handle things. It's just all about time. Time is going to clarify things for everyone. We can try and plan how we're going to try and get over this, but I think from his point of view, all he can really do is just go through the proper channels of what you would do usually, and that is just to now apologize in the right way, as you guys have both said very well, and then win the trust of his teammates back, win the trust of Tuchel back, and then slowly but surely with success, then the fans will start to slowly come back. Now, I think the difference is there is supporting him, so that means like not booing him. I personally wouldn't do that. Even with this, if he was on the pitch, I wouldn't have done that, as angry as I was. But I think I actually liking the players different. Do you know what I mean? So I can also be professional about it as a fan and be like, cool, you scored a goal. Well done, mate. Just be straight faced like that. I mean, that is literally how it feels.
Exactly.
Yeah, it feels like that right now. But then maybe later on down the line, he scored a goal to get a second place. Last kick of the game. I don't know. I hate Liverpool that much. I'd celebrate it. Then I'll be like, yeah, come on. Well done, Baldy. Great. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's just complicated. We need to hear from him. We do need closure in this. I think that's what the apology does as well. It gives us a bit of closure. And it just finishes the story. And, you know, it gets every other fan base off our back, because as fans, like you said, Loz, it's very emotional. These guys tap into our emotions because they're bantering us, going, "Oh, you're £100 million striker, doesn't even want to be there. You're a shit club." Oh, da, 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 da. And that's annoying. Eventually, it wears you down. Do you know what I mean? So let's get this apology. Let's get a bit of closure on it. Let it be done the right way. Then hopefully we can, to an extent, just draw a line under it and move on. But like I said, the relationship will be affected. Now, being professional from here onwards is very important to him, because he's just received what is the equivalent of a written warning. Do you know what I mean? And he now needs to look at the likes of Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, you know, how they conduct themselves. No nonsense outside of the pitch. Don't bring any nonsense energy. Like Tuchel said, no noise. The only noise we want to be hearing is that you're scoring goals. That's it now, really. And this is me being a bit calm. I know that it takes a bit of time to get over things, but if we would have had this the other day, 2 days ago, I'd be bringing a different energy, I've got to admit. So I've slowly started to process it a bit. And I think really the main thing for me is how Tuchel's approached this. I really have so much admiration for him. I will just back him with whatever he does. So I think that's why I've really calmed down now, to be honest.
Same, to be perfectly honest with you. Like I said, I was very shouting around, ranting around the other day, and it's like, now Tuchel has made this decision and I back it. But I'm a little bit, because obviously he's the manager and not a fan, he has to see it and will obviously see from a slightly different perspective to us. And from his perspective, like you just said, he's literally done everything as perfectly as he possibly could have done. I don't think he could have handled it better. And so did even the reports say that both the club and even Roman Abramovich himself think that he's handled it perfectly, which is a good position to be in. Like, how often has it been that we hear that Roman Abramovich is like, this manager's doing everything great? Do you know what I mean? It's not usually the way it goes here, is it? And it's, yeah, like you say, it's not even just that when an apology comes, I'm just like, forgiven and forgotten. That's not, but only when I see an apology that I somewhat believe, can I even start the whole forgiving process? Because until now, I'm like, well, F you. Like, what are you doing? And like somebody said in the chat, like, he embarrassed us as fans. He embarrassed the club. Yeah, he embarrassed himself arguably more than anybody else. I mean, the guy managed to become a meme, and not for his first touch and his boot jeans. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, what's it called? Bootleg jeans. Do you know what I mean? Like, he became a new meme. How do you manage that? Like, do you know what I mean? So he definitely embarrassed himself the most. But still, he just put us in a bad light. And if the last game against Liverpool didn't go the way it did, because if we got a 2-2 draw from being 2-0 up and drew 2-2, our feelings would all be very, very different to the fact that we went 2-0 down and came back to 2-0. And
spot on.
If we lost the game, no matter how, really, because some people would say, why did Tuchel bench him? But for me, it would have been like, I would have just been even angry at Lukaku. But because we kind of salvaged the game even without him, it almost made me less angry at him, because I'm like, well, at least you didn't screw us over in result as much. You know, maybe we could have won with him. I don't know. But we will never know that for sure. But it didn't ruin like the team spirit, which you never know. Like we've had too many player power issues at Chelsea that this could have caused problems also on pitch. But, you know, from the looks of things against Liverpool, he didn't do that at least. So that almost made me like less angry at him because it didn't cause more problems than we already knew about, if that makes sense. And I mean, I appreciate the rage. Love the emotional laugh. Appreciate it. What am I saying here? It's super fake to be super angry 2 days ago. Just move on now. I mean, yes and no. I see what you're saying for sure. But it's just, I don't think anybody's fully moved on. I think it's more a case of people starting to move on, if that makes sense. But obviously I can't speak for everybody. I mean, Jam, you said you're kind of moving on, but how would you respond to that comment?
Yeah, no, that's a good comment. And don't get me wrong, I'm still annoyed. I'm still very annoyed. What I meant by starting to move on is that I'm not absolutely raging. Like, you know, I would be here. There'll be veins popping out my head. That's how annoyed I was. I've thought about it a little bit more rationally, and I'm not excusing him. Like, that hasn't changed. It's just that Tuchel's come out and said, okay, look, he's apologized. I'm satisfied with it. And he does need to be a part of this team for us to get some success going forward. We can see how everyone drops like flies. Our attack's changing all the time. They get hamstring injuries. They get COVID. They get this, that, and whatever. We do need him there. So that's my stance right now is actually, as opposed to 2 days ago, I can tolerate him being in the squad. But I'm not happy with him. I haven't forgiven him. I'm still annoyed. And even seeing him in the Chelsea shirt the first time will annoy me. Absolutely. But in order to get over that, because I can tolerate him being in the team personally, I need him to do well on the pitch. And that will help me start to just get towards where we need to be. You know, it will take time for me, don't get me wrong, to be fully over it. Even at the end of the season, I might be saying, just get rid of the guy. I don't want him at my club. I might say that because then that's the time to do it. I don't think if he left now, that helps us at all. Because who do we get in? Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm able to kind of just think, we've got Tottenham tomorrow. I hate them more than Lukaku, fortunately enough for him. So let's focus on that. That's all it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I see it. I did do a poll earlier on Twitter to just try and get a bit of a feel what, at least my followers, I can't speak for every Chelsea fan because of this now, but at least a few of my followers, how they feel about the situation. Simply put, like Thomas Tuchel has spoken, so this was straight after the press conference. Tuchel and the club say they have accepted Lukaku's apology again. You know what? Not more so than getting our own apology to the fans. What I really want, and I know that's not how it works because, you know, life's not a pony farm and you don't just get everything you want. But what I'd really want is I would love to know, quite like word by word, what Lukaku said to Tuchel. That's what I'd really want to know. Obviously, it's never going to happen. But if someone asks me, oh, you have 3 wishes for me, that's one of them. I want to know what exactly he said. And obviously, like Jam touched on, he did say he wasn't really sure about the long-term commitment, but he has a long-term contract and he seems to be committed to that. So, you know, it's a tough one. But as you can see, we had, you know, nearly 1,000 votes, I could say. So, you know, it's not nothing, but again, you can't say it's the whole fan base now. But ask people, how do you feel about the situation now? 38.1% said done now, move on, which I was slightly surprised about that it's the majority, at least of a 4-option poll, decided to go with that. Because obviously, I guess the two in the middle kind of go together because they're kind of the same opinion, just slightly different, if that makes sense. Because 26.3% said still want a public apology, which I would probably kind of count myself into. Forgiving will take time, which I also count myself into, but I can only start being in that category once I have a public apology. That's basically what I was trying to say for the last half an hour, which weirdly have the exact same number of votes, which is interesting. And then will never forgive Lukaku is at 9%, which I think is also a little bit extreme because, and I can't lie, I didn't know about it. And Jam, you and myself actually did speak about this, you know, or rather speak. I tweeted it and you replied and I was like, fair enough. There was obviously these comments from Digne a few years ago. I'm still not 1,000,000% sure whether he gave that interview in 2004 at the time. I mean, I was a Chelsea fan, but in Austria, in a different country where we had basically no access to any of these things. You know what I mean? So I had no idea about these quotes. I was like, all right. And we consider him right now as one of the one of our greatest players ever, one of the top 3, 4, 5 ever. And he said those things. So to say we will never forgive Lukaku, because I've never heard of a Chelsea fan that doesn't like Drogba. So if you forgive a Drogba, or if you don't know about this from Drogba, then you should either not like Drogba anymore, or why have you forgiven him then? Because personally, I would argue, other than obviously the way you said it, Jam, if it was a few years in hindsight, I get it. But if it was at the time, and the thing said 2004, again, I don't fully know. If it wasn't 2004, it's basically the same thing, arguably worse in words. And people could forget him. So the results have changed. Why? Have you voted on one thing? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't vote on this poll, and that's because you don't follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. Link is down in the description. Obviously, follow Jam and Clutch as well. The links, well, you can see Jam literally on screen is Twitter, but both of their links are down in the description. But Clutch, does that result of the poll slightly surprise you, or was that roughly what you would expect?
I think that's what I would roughly expect. I mean, I picked the forgiving will take time. I was personally never mad. I was always annoyed and disappointed. Like, when you take his words at face value without even knowing the guy's character, right? So when he comes here and he says, hey, this is my boyhood club. I love this club. I want to retire here. And then not even 6 months later, we get, well, don't leave. I want to go back to Inter. And you're like, okay, whoa. And people are like, I don't understand why people are so mad. Like, we thought we bought somebody for $100 million who we'd have for the next 3 to 4 years, who would do the job that we've been so desperately needing since Diego Costa left. And then he just goes and, like, after 6 months says, no, I never meant any of that. And we know he meant this one. We know that. Because he did it all to his own accord. Everything was done from him. No representatives, not the club, nothing. Just him. So, for me, I think a lot of Chelsea fans, I think they will want the productivity. And with our form now and how we need results to win trophies to even get ourselves back into a conversation to be in the title race, which I don't think we are. I think it's second place or third place for us at this point. And we need him because we don't have many goal scorers on this team. So we need him to score goals. That's just it. So I think people will look at the result of what we need and say, hey, as long as you do that, we'll be fine. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him wanting to be somewhere else. I just didn't like the part where he faked it in the beginning. Like, if he just came here and said, hey, I'm coming here for the paycheck, whatever. That's fine. I understand that. I'm going to get the productivity out of you regardless. But I think it's the words he said before and then contradicting himself 6 months later. I think that's where it hurts the most as a fan. And you're right, he did embarrass the club. He did embarrass the fans. He embarrassed himself. But by all reports, he doesn't understand that he did that. He doesn't understand that, like, the backlash was going to be this bad, which I think that is very lacks insight from the guy who is so smart. And now you're like, oh, I didn't know this would hurt. Like, of course it's going to hurt. And you achieved nothing that you wanted to achieve in the first place. So in the end, you have egg on your face. So I think it's just about moving on. I do think it's about moving on. That apology, even though I think it's going to be more of the club's words than his own words, because I don't think we'll ever get his own words, because I don't know if it'll make anything better, because we don't know how he truly feels. But I do think the apology needs to happen. I do think we just need to move on, let him speak, let his play speak for him, and eventually we'll either get his entire feelings from the way he plays. I think that's just how I feel, is his play will dictate how he actually truly feels.
It is true. It is true. And you said something important there, that the reports say that not necessarily he doesn't feel remorse. That's not necessarily what they said. They did say, he understands that it was a mistake to give the interview. They never said, he understands that it was a mistake what he said in the interview. That might be the case, but that's not what the reports have said. But the reports have also said that he's surprised by the backlash and by the reaction. And for him to be surprised by that, I'm like, how? Like, again, everybody is annoyed the most at different parts of that interview. Everyone has their big things. For me, initially, it was the Tuchel criticism. Then it was how he spoke about Lautaro Martinez. I'm like, well, he's the greatest that I can play with, basically. But do you want him at Chelsea? No. So to me, that says you don't want to be your best at Chelsea, because you don't even want the guy that makes you the best at Chelsea. So you don't even want to be the best for us? That makes no sense to me. Like, that pissed me off. And also the fact that, if they accepted my contract extension not offer, but like proposal, asking for it, they would have done the interview in Milan, not in London. Like, those are the things that pissed me off in particular. And for him to think that that's a fine thing to say just baffles me. Like, obviously you're not in there, Jan, but obviously your reaction to that, but also the poll. Would you have expected that kind of result?
No, it surprised me. But I think if you would have put this poll up 2 days ago, it would have been different. I just think it's time that heals wounds, really. Yeah, I actually voted for forgiving will take time, but I understand your point that is basically, depending on how you think about it, it's very similar to still want a public apology. They're basically the same thing. So that doesn't, I guess, it does. The surprising thing is I thought those would be the highest two. I would have put done now, move on third, but is what it is. And you're right when you said that we'll never forgive is probably, it's probably a little bit too far. You can't really say that. It's hard to say that. But what I do want to point out is I think Cedric said it in the comments. He said that at least Terry, Lampard, Drogba, when they made any mistakes, they had won us trophies. I get that. I actually said that myself. Lukaku doesn't have that credit in the bank to start misbehaving with Chelsea FC. And this ties into his ego. So how can I put it? He's obviously a very headstrong guy. He's very driven. And that is why I ultimately thought, do you know what? This is a good buy. Because I thought he'll come here. He's in the prime of his career. He's going to go from strength to strength, hopefully with us. But I actually think rather than it being just purely drive, I think his ego really is like, it's cockiness, it's arrogance. It's not good, man. He's not beyond Chelsea. He needs to realise this. What have you done for us? The only thing you've done right now is score a few goals here and there and cost us 100 million euros, pounds even. So, you need to just bear in mind that you're still in probation. Do you know what I mean? You've only just been here for a few months and probation's around the corner. We're going to start assessing you and thinking, how well are you actually doing? Is this a good fit and all that? And at the moment, it's up in the air. Partly his fault, partly not his fault, So he needs to be a little bit, careful. I hope this is a massive reality check for him. I really do. That bit really annoyed me when the reports were saying he doesn't seem to realise why it's caused a fallout. That I think that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back with me. I think that's where I got very annoyed because he's not naive enough to know that is, to not know what he's done. He's not naive enough to think that twerking for, his father, Antonio Conte, who now manages one of our fiercest rivals, who we're playing 3 times this month, is a bad thing. He knows that is, to question the system or to come across as doing that. He knows that's not good. To say that this was basically his 4th choice club after Real, Bayern and Barca. Are you serious? Come on, man. He knows football's a sentimental game. That connection with the club is sentimental. He knows that. So don't be stupid. Don't be naive. So this is why I question those that are letting him off so easily straight away. I think it might be to do with the fact that they're trying to prioritize the club's needs. They think that he needs them. And I get that. But to completely let him off and just move on, I just can't do that right now.
Yeah, it's difficult. I do see where was it? I wanted to highlight it. This comment here by Alex saying, what's important is that he plays his heart out, plays physical, stands up for his teammates, etc. every game. That's the only way I see Chelsea fans moving past this. I see what you mean. Yeah, but the problem is kind of how do you and if he doesn't do that, is it because he's if there's no moments where he's a teammate is kind of in a kerfuffle with an opponent and he doesn't run up and, back his teammate or whatever. Am I gonna, because without this drama happening, I wouldn't have a go at him for not doing that. So, but then that would lead me to have a go at him for certain things. And that's also not the position I really want to be in. And you made a good point there, Jam, because the fact that he doesn't, or at least reportedly, again, we don't know whether it's necessarily true, but doesn't understand why there was so much backlash. That's kind of exactly why I want an apology or explanation. Don't even have to call it an apology, because I think that part surely must also trigger Thomas Tuchel, because if he doesn't understand why it was bad, then I don't think Tuchel would just put him back in the squad 2 days later. I feel like if Tuchel was also of that belief, like, or if he still thought Lukaku is like, he doesn't even understand that he's something wrong, I don't think he would quite yet be in the squad, which is why I said earlier, I want to know what he said to Tuchel, because that could be two things. Either saying, actually, I'm sorry, I do realize I effed up for those and those reasons. But if he doesn't, and he didn't say that to Tuchel either, and he gives an explanation of why he doesn't realize why it's so bad, I'm not saying that would help, but I'm saying it might help, because I in my brain, I can't fathom a logical explanation for how he doesn't understand how that pissed us all off so much. It's just confusing to me. I really, really don't understand it. But do either of you boys have anything to add about the Lukaku saga, or shall we slowly but surely move on towards actually talking about playing Tottenham tomorrow?
I don't have anything. I don't have anything.
One important thing we should mention before that didn't happen to do with the Tottenham game. Thiago Silva has extended his contract at Chelsea, which is some good news. I mean, it wasn't a big shock. We all kind of knew that was coming. But it's brilliant news anyway, and his, unlike Romelu Lukaku, Thiago Silva understands what to say in interviews, said exactly the right things. Oh, I love this relationship with the fan. And hey, people love it, even though it's probably PR bollocks, but, people love it anyway. Maybe it isn't PR bollocks. I don't know. I'm not trying to put words into Thiago's mouth, but, how many contract extensions have you seen where someone takes, I love the fan so much. That's what I'm trying to say. And maybe they all do, but it's still always similar phrases is what I'm saying. But that is fantastic news, obviously. Clutch. How happy are you that Thiago extended? Even though, like I said, obviously we all kind of knew that was going to come.
I think in the press conference, Tuchel put it probably the best way he possibly could. He's the Benjamin Button of football. The older he gets, the smoother he is. I mean, he's outperforming all of our defenders, save maybe Rudiger, but I would even say probably Rudiger in the last 5-6 games. I think you see a guy that age and his brain it's like Sherlock Holmes. It's working 10 times faster than everybody else out there. He just knows what to do and when to do it. I think about the Pep meme when we think about Thiago Silva. We're just not going to be able to replace the guy when he ends up retiring. It's going to be really hard to replace him. And I think the same goes for Rudiger. And but I think Thiago Silva right now is probably the most important part of our back three line, because he's the guy who's going to keep the calm, and he's the guy who dictates the play. He's been, the last couple games, he's been doing the Jorginho role and distributing the ball out wide and keeping the play going forward. So I do think it is a very big W that we haven't had for a couple days or for a couple weeks with this club. So I'm down for it. I'm really here. I love it.
Exactly. I presume you share similar feelings about that, Jam.
100%, man. The guy is just on an elite level. Yes, when was it? Against Liverpool. Did you that turn that he did when Mane was shutting him down? Everyone was just like, oh no. And then he's just turned and just gone, see you later. Bye-bye. Stuff like that. I mean, you can't teach it. He's just absolutely superb. He looks after himself. To be playing at the big age of 37 like that is unreal. He's not even slow. Like, I think part of his positioning helps him out maybe with that, but he's not a slow guy. And I just love how he carries the ball out. He actually strikes fear into the opponents. When he's coming out with the ball, they're actually respecting him. They're like, damn. You notice that people don't really shut him down so quickly because they don't want what happened to Mane to happen to them. Mm-hmm. They just go, oh, well, Silva's got the ball. Okay, cool. We'll wait until someone else gets it. Yeah. Try and press them. But no, honestly, this guy, he's infectious. His persona, his professionalism, his quality, it's all infectious. And I really hope that if he stays, Christensen's soaking it up, because he's a guy that could be exactly that mold of player. Trevor Chalobah, I hope he's soaking it up. You can tell that Azpi's probably raised his game. They're on the same kind of wavelength. Rudiger, coincidence or not, he's been at his best when Silva's been in the team. It's been unreal since he's been here. So Yeah, I'm just so glad that he's still going to be here. Even if he doesn't play as much next season, I think he'll still have an absolutely brilliant impact on the team. And what I love about him as well is actually the off the pitch stuff as well. Like, you just always see him watching Chelsea games, Chelsea women's team, the youth team games. Always tweeting about Chelsea, whatever, on Insta about Chelsea. His wife as well. It's just such
She keeps saying
good
at home and stuff when she's at Stamford
Yeah.
Bridge. Do you know what I mean?
It's brilliant. They've just embraced it. I met her. When was it? It was the Leicester game when fans were allowed back in the stadium.
Yeah.
She was unreal. She was just a fan. It was brilliant. They've really taken to it, really embraced it, and trust me, let him stay for however long he wants to, even beyond playing capacity. Do you know what I mean? Keep him at the club.
No, exactly. Could not agree more. And like Jester said here, I mean, Clutch touched on it. Thiago was basically playing the register role from centre back when Jorginho wasn't on the pitch, because obviously we went with Cover and Kante for the game against Liverpool. But what I saw someone say earlier was what they're here for is talking about the left wing discussion, because I put on the thumbnail like, Callum versus Pulisic about for left wing. Obviously, let's see whether either of them plays left wing tomorrow because of potential rotation, blah blah blah. But it's still going to be a conversation that I think might as well start having now, because, well, Pulisic had a good old stinker until he scored. But after that, it was fantastic. And then still, when Callum came on, it was Pulisic that moved over to right wing back, and not Callum, which I found very confusing, because last season, Callum played right wing back loads, last season under Tuchel, and Pulisic was, if anything, playing in the forward line. Yeah, sometimes on the right, but still in the forward line. And now that was different, which is interesting. And I mean, myself and Clutch agree on this. I'm not sure if everyone agrees on this, but I was very annoyed by Callum's performance against Zenit, but not just because he was bad, but because he couldn't be bothered. Maybe if you played a left wing, he would have seemed the same amount of lack of botheredness. But to me, because he played right wing back that game, it almost felt like when he's playing right wing back now that he's played a few games on a left wing, can't be bothered to play right wing back. While Pulisic, not saying he's great at right wing back, but at least he keeps trying. You can't say Pulisic hasn't tried his hardest every time he's played right wing back. Which I was like, is that the reason why he's playing there now? Because at least he tries, and Callum didn't last time he played there. I don't know, but we'll get to that when we get to the actual left wing back. Because one thing that is very different from until now is that our goalkeeper's changing. Because Edouard Mendy, good luck to him, has left to join up the Senegal national team to obviously play in the African Cup of Nations. Again, all the best to them. Hope they do well. But now we have to deal with Kepa in goal. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Bettinelli. So I can already put down Kepa here. But, damn. Does it worry you drastically, or have Kepa's recent performances? I say recent. Most performances under Thomas Tuchel, have they instilled you with enough confidence to, at least not shit yourself for the next month?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I'm not shitting myself at all. I think Kepa kind of won the hearts back of many people with his performances in the various penalty shootouts. And actually, every now and then when he's come back in goal, he's done all right. He really has. So I'm fine with it. I mean, obviously, you might get teams that will think, do you know what? Kepa's in goal. Let's just get some more shots off from far. You might get the odd goal that goes in, but I actually really like him. As a backup keeper, I'm not too bothered. I think he'll be all right. Mendy, the trouble for him is that Mendy's so good that there is a bit of a drop off, but I wouldn't blame Kepa for that. We know his level now, so let's not roast him in that sense. We know his level, so yeah, let him just do his job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also think it's important to say before I ask Clutch about this, we need to back Kepa this month. If he has a bit of a stinker in one game, and then everyone on social media starts going in for him, that's not exactly going to make him play better the next game, is it? And essentially, until Mendy's back, ideally for the whole season, because we should back most of our players, aside from potentially Lukaku. We need to back them anyway, but especially while we don't have another option, because, we're not going to play Bettinelli, are we? Unless we really have to. We need to back the guy. And if he makes a mistake, hey, so be it. We need to hope that he doesn't make the mistake in the next game, or for the rest of the game that he makes the mistake in. That's important. But hey, Chelsea did the right thing on their social media. They posted a video of Kepa saving shots from outside the box. Although I will say none of them went anywhere near as far top corner as the shot from Zenit or the shot from Tielemans in the FA Cup finals. Like, those are the ones he struggles with, which is kind of hard to. It's an interesting debate I had with Euro Expert a few weeks ago when he was like, they were analysing like Kepa's movement for that Zenit goal, where he kind of swings his arm back before he actually jumps, and it kind of takes time from him jumping and getting to places, which I'd be intrigued about what obviously our goalkeeping coaches, Petr Cech and stuff, what they think about that. That'd be interesting. Alfred Alexis, you will be the first to criticize him. A second ago, you told me big up Laurenz, but fair enough. No, I will not. I mean, I will say, hey, you messed that one up, but I will not sit here and say, you F and you C and you whatever else. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's you can say someone made a mistake. That's just being objective. But there's a difference between saying someone made a mistake and insulting and abusing and criticizing constantly. Those are not the same things. But Clutch, is it similar situation as with Jam for you with Kepa, or does it, like, I think you said it in the comments, does it still worry you that Kepa is going to be in goal now?
No, it doesn't worry me. I mean, our defense is stable enough. I think he's more confident in this back three formation than he was under Lampard with the back four that we had. I think a lot of his problems came from that. We were leaking in goals, so confidence is everything, especially with the keeper, and he had a lot of off-field issues. I really like Kepa as a keeper. I think Kepa, I don't know any keeper that gets down as fast as Kepa if a ball goes down low. He's really good at that. That is one of the things, like, if you watch I think it was the Super Cup game against Liverpool a couple of years ago, some of the saves he was making in that game was just stupid ridiculous. And I'm not worried about it. I think, especially if you have Thiago Silva, who's going to be calm in front of him, Rudiger, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll make those saves. It'll be a little bit more challenging because I think we do got to stop the balls that are coming from distance, because those are the ones he does end up struggling with. And before you said it, me and my friend were talking about, and somebody said, like, Kepa uses the wrong arm when it goes to, like, distance shots. Like, he'll try to save it with his dominant arm rather than his, like, left arm if it's going to the top left corner or something. So hopefully he's been looking to fix that, but I trust him. I think he'll do fine.
I hope so. I hope so. Whatever, seen it. Alfred, if you wouldn't mind not using caps, I appreciate you in the chat. Don't worry about it, but let's not do all caps because it stands out and it's unfair to the other people. But let's move on to the back three, where we have a bit of a problem because Andreas Christensen, according to Thomas Tuchel, is still a doubt with this back problem that he picked up against Villa, was it? I think it was. And also Trevor Chalobah, who pulled up his hamstring in the last game against Liverpool and had to be subbed off, is also out. So essentially that means we only have 3 centre-backs. 4 if you include Malang Sarr, so we'll talk about that potentially. But essentially, Azpilicueta needs to be playing right centre-back. And because we don't have Reece James and because we haven't recalled or signed anybody for right wing, that means one of Callum or Pulisic need to be playing right wing back anyway, unless we change formation, which would be very surprising at this point all of a sudden. So, I mean, I stick with you, Clutch, for the time being. Obviously, that kind of means Thiago Silva has to play again. Of course, we play Chesterfield on Saturday, which is obviously a non-league opposition in the FA Cup, so we can rest, well, as many players as we want, essentially, in that game. But tomorrow, the poor 37-year-old Thiago Silva probably needs to play again. The question is, on the left side, does Rudiger play again? Because if you don't play him now, that means he doesn't play until probably the second leg against Spurs. So you might as well play him tomorrow as well, right? So you just go with the best back three that we have, or do you throw a Malang Sarr in there?
I do not throw. I think Sarr will be this weekend. I think right now you have to, I think, especially since this is a two-legged affair, I think let's go out there with the strongest team, get the best result we can, and we'll see next week what we have. Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Aspie for me. I think that's probably the best way we can go about like our defense at the current moment without Christensen and especially without Chalobah. I trust this back three to do the job that they need to do, and then over the weekend we can rest everyone if we really need to. I mean, you can go with the Ease Academy. I don't think they would be having a too big a struggle against the non-league opposition.
There you go. I would probably agree with it as well. But Jan, would you go along with that as too, or would you like to see someone like Malang Sarr thrown in there?
No, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with him playing this game. We need rotation, maybe, but as Clutch said, you know, we've got the game on Saturday where he can play. So, yeah, I'm happy to go to the strongest back three that we can have available, which is these guys, because we're playing against Kane and Son. So, you know, we need to probably match up to that.
I guess the question is whether Conte will start Kane and Son, but he probably will.
I think he will because they've got an FA Cup game too. Unless they've got someone difficult, I doubt they do. I think this is quite an important game for Chelsea because when you get drawn in a cup, I don't think there are away goals in this anymore, but when you get drawn in the cup, you'd rather play your home game second because you're going home and you know what you need to do. So it's actually quite important we win this game, or it's very important actually when you think about it. So we do have to play a strong team, unfortunately, because they're knackered.
Yeah, they probably are knackered, honestly. Like obviously we get a bit of a rest, but then we'll see how many players we actually rotate against Chesterfield. I mean, we could just turn up with the under 21s. Should probably still be beating Chesterfield, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. But yeah, no, it probably should be that back three. Just by the way, information coming out of Liverpool, I suppose. Liverpool have now formally requested a postponement of Thursday Carabao Cup Semi Final first leg versus Arsenal due to further positive Rona cases. So that's that. Obviously, it's Liverpool, so you can already guarantee that they're not going to play because it's Liverpool. So that's that. Obviously, help them as much as they can. Go on, then. Sorry.
Let me just say this: it's convenient when Mane and Salah go. Klopp's probably baked some cookies and sent them to the squad to eat, so they all get COVID. Do you know what I mean? So they'd have to play their games. This is what's happened, mate. These guys, man.
Yeah,
so lucky.
And obviously they're probably using the fact that, Salah, Mane, Matip. I mean, Matip has the Rona anyway, so he can't have gone to AFCON yet, at least. And someone else, and Keita, are all called up because the whole rule is if you can't name 14 first-team players, including at least one goalkeeper. Well, but should it count if 4 of them are just off to AFCON? I don't know. Maybe at the same time, if it was a similar situation for us, I would be annoyed. But hey, I guess the only positive you can see is in a way that at some point they will just have a stupendous amount of games all at once. So that's the positive way to look at it from our side, I suppose. But let's move up. Let's move up that pitch in terms of the lineup. Obviously, Jan, I'm not sure if you're totally aware, but what we're trying to do more so than predicting the 11, because that's one, difficult, 2, sometimes a bit boring. So that's why we're more like what we would like to see. And then because we can't control what Tuchel does anyway, essentially. So what about left wing back? Is it again Marcos Alonso? Because to be fair to him, I mean, people know I'm not a fan of him. But he's done okay last couple of games. I can't even lie. But would you stick with him?
Yeah. Alonso against Spurs as well. That's a cheat code. Something's going down. He's going to be involved in it. So yeah. Play Alonso, man. He's not going to play against Chesterfield, hopefully. So yeah, I'd certainly play him for this game.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem we have is that the guy that knows how to get the most out of Marcos Alonso is sat on the opposition's bench. So you never know. Marcos Alonso might be scoring 2 own goals. But we'll see how that one goes. But Clutch, would you go along with it? It's got to be Alonso, really, unless we do another experiment of playing Soul at left wing back.
Yeah, I don't think he's been too bad the last couple games either. I don't think he's been absolutely terrible. He hasn't made some of the mistakes that he's been prone to make over the season, but I think with the lack of options, if Digne was obviously available and was here, I would be picking him, but he's not. So I think it's just you got to go with Alonso for now, and then we'll see over the weekend how we switch it up.
What am I reading here? Liverpool have 14 Rona cases and 0 goalkeepers. Why mention Mane and Salah? Get the tinfoil hats off. So they have no goalkeeper available, is what you're telling me. If that is the case, then yes, I haven't done my research. Shocker, because the information literally came out while we were streaming. So how am I going to make that? Because I'm literally just reading out a tweet, right? But anyway, how's that happen then? Are you sure? Because
this guy doesn't get satire either. Like, obviously, I'm bantering, innit? Come on, man.
Yeah. There you go. But yeah, no, it kind of got to be Alonso, isn't it? But let's move over to the other side, where it gets really interesting, because the only guy other than Reece James who's injured, who tends to play right wing back, including the last game, is already playing right centre back. So now what? Because Pulisic has done okay there, but also actually scored the goal from the front line, but also has played a lot of football. So is he even an option? Does he need a rest? I don't know. Now, for me, and I haven't said this for the past few weeks, but now I will say this, because he got himself this goal, and not just because the goal itself, but because the goal gave him confidence, and we saw that for the rest of the game. If you want to play Pulisic, now is when you need to play him. I think, maybe I'm misjudging the situation, but I think that goal would have given him so much confidence that he doesn't even feel tired. He just wants to play and do it again. So for me, as much as Pulisic has recently at least done better than Callum at right wing back, for me, Pulisic needs to start at left wing tomorrow because has he fully earned it? Maybe not, because the first half was too bad to all of a sudden say he earned it, because Callum also had a great game against Villa, but equally as shocking, if not more shocking than it was great the game before that against Brighton, is part of the problem. But I just think if you're ever going to get something out of Pulisic, it's when he's on a high like this. So that's when he needs to be playing on the wing and not at wing back, which is why for me, it's kind of got to be Callum at right wing back, as much as he won't be happy about it. Clutch, would you agree? Or I know you never want to play Pulisic there anyway, but now that we don't have Aspie as the option, is it Cho for you?
I think there could be a shout for Simmons, but I don't think he'll play. I think if you're talking about if you have to choose between Cho and Pulisic, I think at the moment, with as much football as Pulisic's been playing, I wouldn't risk the being tired aspect, especially with Reguilon going down that side. I think Cho's got the energy to deal with him right now, and especially since they're going to match us in formation, Reguilon is going to be bombing forward a lot. I think right now it would make more sense to play Callum over there because of the energy thing. Now, I do agree that if you are going to play Pulisic, he has to be up front because he's a player who I've been saying thrives off of confidence. If he gets the confidence, that's when we see the best out of him. And especially since, I think they asked him, he had an interview with whatever, and they were asking, he said, I felt terrible when I missed that goal or when I missed that one-on-one opportunity. So he said that made me even more hungry to go out there and fix it, which is why you've seen that touch and then that goal, and why he celebrated the way he did, where he even touched the badge, where you could tell how much that meant to him, how much that went off of him. And especially since, if you look at the last game, when he went back to the right wing back, we lost a lot of attacking momentum. We didn't create chances after that. We stopped looking dangerous. So I think on that terms, you do need to play him up front. And I think as much as it's not going to be fun for Callum, and I do think, yes, that isn't his. Maybe it's not where he wants to be at the moment, but it's not like I don't think he can't play there. I think he has all the tools to do it and be good there. But that's just, I think it's mentality. I think if he goes out there and say, hey, I can play this and I can show that, hey, I still deserve a spot somewhere in this team and I can fight for my spot, go do it. That's what you need to do. That's what we've been saying Pulisic needs to do. Wherever you're played, go play. Go make sure that hey, I deserve to be here. Maybe there's a shout for Callum up at the right wing position because, Mason Mount's not had a great couple of games, but I don't think you replace Mason Mount. So I do think it's Callum that has to play on the right wing if you don't go for Xavier Simmons, which I don't think they would.
I don't think they will either. For Chesterfield, good chance Simmons plays there. But for tomorrow, I doubt it. Jam, would you agree it's between Pulisic and Callum? And if it is, which one would you pick?
Yeah, it is, because that's just what the squad's like at the moment. Everyone's got to muck in and do what they need to do and swap positions and, whatever it is. For the reasons that you both said, actually, I think Pulisic does need to play left wing and Cho hasn't really been on form there. So, yeah, throw him back to right wing back. The only thing I would say is, playing devil's advocate, is I can't think of the last time he's actually played right wing back. I think it was a little while ago, right?
Against Zenit, when we drew 3-3 away, that's when he last played there.
Okay, that was it. How can I put it? I think when Pulisic is on form and thriving, he needs to be. You need to be playing him. You do need to play towards that. But I personally don't like it, and this goes for Pulisic too. I don't like it when these players are just going like this. I don't think it gives them, in these crucial years of their development, that stickability in a position to learn the position fully. I think it's very frustrating for them. It's very disruptive, but it's all that they could do right now. Personally, I think Cho can actually play that position as long as he's got the right mindset for it, because I think he's a fantastic creator. That's what he is. Pulisic is a killer. That's what he is. He goes for goal. So it makes more sense to have it this way around. It really does.
Yeah, I'd probably go along with it as well. Like I said, the part of the worry is the fact that Callum was really poor against Zenit when he played there. So it's kind of like, I hope he fixes up and just, because Do I want him to be playing right wing back all the time? No. I would love it if we had, now that Reece is injured, some other right wing back that we could play at right wing back, but we don't, right? Nothing I could do about it. I would still rather probably Davides bloody Zappacosta play right wing back than have either Callum or Pulisic there. But we don't. So the fact that, and that was the same situation we had against Zenit, because in that game, because Ruben was also, missed the game against Zenit last minute, Reece James had to play midfield. So there was literally no other option than one of Pulisic or Callum playing right wing back. And at the time, we hadn't really seen Pulisic at right wing back much. So to most people's opinion at the time, Callum was the only option. And he still seemed to throw a bit of a hissy fit. Again, maybe I'm putting words into his mouth that I shouldn't be putting into his mouth. But yeah, we'll go for Callum at right wing back for now. If I'm being totally honest with you, if I have to predict an 11, like I just said earlier, Callum came on and played in the front line and Pulisic moved to the right wing. So going by that, if I do the predicted 11, I'd probably have to put Pulisic at right wing back, but I just hope I'd be wrong. But let's move on to the midfield, because Kante and Kovacic were both brilliant in the last game. They really were. Obviously, Jorginho, I mean, people will say, oh, look at how much better we are without Jorginho. Well, I mean, have you seen the Champions League final or the Champions League semi-finals against Real Madrid? But Jorginho not being fit is a problem. But now I presume that helped him that he got a few days off, only played a few minutes against Liverpool, obviously. And also at a stage in the game where the game had calmed down a little bit, which obviously is an advantage. Now the question is, who plays this game? Because Ruben Loftus-Cheek is back in training, but probably too soon for him to start a game. Jorginho is, I would presume, now ready to start a game again. And the question is now, Kante is always a problem when he starts too many games in a row. And Kovacic already started Brighton and started the last game and only just came back from the Rona and an injury. So I honestly don't know who to play midfield. Jam, who would you play midfield? I don't know. You could argue Jorginho and Saul, but do I want Jorginho and Saul against Tottenham? Like, more so the Saul part, obviously, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's Tottenham, isn't it?
Exactly.
Tottenham's midfield is dead. It is woeful. I think part of me is kind of thinking Saul could play, but because we need to win this game, as I said before, it's the first leg. It's at home. We have to win this game if we want to go to the final. I would go with Jorginho and Kovacic. Now, the reason for that is because Kante, he just seems to be getting a string of injuries here, there, and everywhere where, you do need to just prioritize his game time a little bit. And Kovacic, yeah, he might get a little bit of burnout, but he's not playing on the weekend. And then he could maybe feature in the next game, or it could go Kante, Jorginho in the next game. So, yeah, I think there's a way to work that out, that overload. So I would go Jorginho, Kovacic for this game. Jovicic, bring it back.
There you go. Jorginho. Oh, actually, when it is Kovacic always plays on the left. And we are also joined, as people might have been able to tell on screen, by Pice. But Pice was an hour late, but we'll let him off. He's always here, so, no hard feelings here. But Pice, cheers for coming. Obviously, you missed most of our Lukaku chat now, but we can't go back in because some people in the chat were already complaining. But here we are at the midfield. So I just throw you straight in the deep end. Who starts in midfield tomorrow? For you, obviously, not for Tuchel.
Yeah. Sorry for being late. My internet's just literally decided to come back on. Oh,
good, mate. Oh, good.
Yeah. Tomorrow, yeah. I think obviously there's a discussion for Kovacic, but I think for me it depends if you wanted to start on the weekend as well against Man City. So,
on the weekend we play Chesterfield, bro.
It's 2 weeks.
Perfect then. Okay, Kovacic starts. I thought we had City on the weekend, so yeah, Kovacic starts. Jorginho, yeah, I don't think he'll play Kante. So yeah, I think that'll be the midfield. Kante could start, but I think Jorginho will probably come back in the side. So yeah, I agree with the midfield we've got at the moment.
Fair dues, but I let Clutch go last. For me, simply because I'm Kovacic looked great in the last game and deserves to keep playing, but like I said, he played Brighton and the last game already, and he probably shouldn't have played 90 minutes in either of those games. And he played 45 in the game before that, I think. So I'm a little bit worried about him, but am I more worried about him than Kante? I don't know. It's just the problem is, Conte said it himself in the pre-match press conference where it's like, well, or not said it himself, but it's more like the Matt Law article that I read about it. It's like, if there's one thing that Conte wants to change while being at Tottenham, is the whole Tottenham don't win trophies. So Tottenham and Conte will go for this tomorrow as much as they possibly can. And in any game where the opponent goes for it as much as they possibly can, that's probably the game where I want Kante, in a way. Because I'm not sure, I haven't seen quite enough of him, being perfectly honest, of Conte Spurs to make a full judgment of whether I expect them to sit back and we're just going to, and it's going to be like when we play bloody Everton, or is it going to be more like a bit like a Brighton game or to the extreme like a Liverpool game? I'm not sure. But depending on what kind of game Tuchel thinks this is going to be, I think will influence whether it's Kova or Kante, personally. So I don't know. I think I go with Kante, to be honest. I think I go with Kante. And then bring Kova on, obviously, for him. Maybe at halftime, maybe after an hour. But the Kova was so good last game. And the fact, let's not forget, he was out with a hamstring injury, and all of us follow football enough to know that hamstring injuries are one of the most common injuries to re-injure the same injury, just like quite literally happened to Trevor Chalobah in the last game. And with him having been so good in the last game, and to be honest, in most of the games since coming back, I really don't want to risk him being out again. But obviously that's just me from complete and outside perspective, and Tuchel will have the full judgment of, is this a risk playing Kova or is it not? If it's not, play him. But if it is, maybe Kante's not, because at least knee injuries are not muscle injuries that tend to like get re-injured constantly, is what I'm trying to say. Hence, that's why maybe I would pick Kante, but to be perfectly honest with both of you, with all of you guys, I'm not sure. But Clutch, which one would you go for? I presume you'd go with Jorginho as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jorginho. And I think like the important thing is, I know everybody in chat is pretty much just saying like these players, like such and such needs rest. We have like 7 players who need rest. That's just how it is. And unfortunately, they're going to have to play one more because, I mean, this weekend you can have all the rest you want. I mean,
exactly. They're all
it's still Chesterfield. I really don't think we're going to need Lukaku for Chesterfield. I don't think we're going to need Mason Mount for Chesterfield. So, I mean, at this moment, it's a hard thing, because if you're going to ask me if we need to manage them both, because like you said, Kovacic just came back from a hamstring injury, but on form, I think he needs to play. But you also made a point that that they are going to go for it, so Conte is probably the better option for that reason. I think if you're gonna try something, maybe start with Conte 45 and then give Kovacic the last 45, or vice versa. Personally, I'd probably pick Kovacic and then let Conte see out the game. That's probably how I'd see how to do it. But you never know. I mean, Conte was the only one after the last game who seemed like he could go and run another 90 out there. So his energy is still insane. I'm going to pick Kovacic.
Fair dues. The one thing I'm trying to figure out right now, yes, I was just trying to figure out whether there is 3 or 5 subs in the Carabao Cup. And there is 5 subs. So, that's another small positive into whatever we pick, I suppose. But because we can't really decide who to pick, I'm going to just put Kova/Kante, because who the hell knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Or just literally, like Jester said it here, just play 45 to one, 45 the other. It doesn't really matter which one starts, which one plays the second half, I guess. So I'm just going to do that split on screen. But yeah, no, let's bloody hope we don't Lukaku against Chesterfield. That will be a problem in and of itself, would it not? Let's get to the front three. One player I do want to mention, because he hasn't played a lot, and also, even though he probably should be, is not at the African Cup of Nations right now, is Hakim Ziyech. Does that guy ever get a game again? Is tomorrow the game where he gets a game again? I'll go back to you, Pice. What do you reckon?
Personally, I don't think so. And it's a bit crazy because I think he's hardly played, has he, recently? But I think just comes down to I don't think he's in our best front three. Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down. I don't think he's in our best front three, and I mean, by best front three, I mean, do we even know that? I think it's just fan preference. I think, to be honest, yeah, I mean, I don't see him starting, in all honesty, with the options we've got. So, yeah, that's my take on it.
I mean, fair enough. Actually, it wasn't even Brentford. It was Wolves, like I said in the private chat here. And then, sub came off and looked into being a bit of pain, was left out of the Brentford squad because of some back problem, has been on the bench in every game since then, but hasn't been used. I don't even think he's come on in any of these recent games. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Johnny Templar saying, is this 2 legs? Yes, it is 2 legs. Tomorrow is the first leg, and next Wednesday is the second leg at Tottenham. At Shite Hard Lane, as we love to call it. Well, then no Hakim Ziyech for you, Pice. What about you, Jam? Hakim
I'd
Ziyech
play
for
him.
rotational purposes or for
Yeah.
deserving? I don't know.
Yeah, I would play him, and I would drop Mason Mount because I think Mount. We're talking about minutes accumulated. This guy's been playing a lot, and I don't think he's been at his best. What I mean by that is he's been working very hard as he usually does, but just the clinical moments not really there. So I think he's just due a bit of time on the bench. No biggie, and give Ziyech some minutes. I don't really see it as being too detrimental. I know that I said that we need to win this game. But also, I think Mount could do with just that time on the bench. I would put Ziyech on to start, and then Mount could come on. That's how I'd do it.
It would make sense. You would expect Ziyech to start against Chesterfield, regardless of how many youngsters we have involved. The question is, if you then start Ziyech tomorrow, Jam, does that mean Mount gets rested for 2, or do you think then Mount starts Chesterfield?
No. Mount doesn't need to start against Chesterfield. He could start on the away leg against Tottenham, which is in a week. It's less than a week. It's on next week Tuesday, right? I think they swapped the days.
I think it's
around.
Wednesday, actually. I think both are.
It's Wednesday. Okay, so yeah, I think just playing then he could do with a bit of a break. I think it's just getting to that point for him where he has accumulated minutes. We think this guy can run forever, but you get tired upstairs. You get tired physically. You know what I mean? It would just do him well just to have a bit of a time off and give the extra minutes, man. Just share it round. That's what I see.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'd probably agree. If I did a predicted 11, I think Mount starts again, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But if it was me picking, I think I'd probably go for Ziyech. But then again, I'm obviously not at training. Maybe Ziyech has just been training really badly for a few weeks, and that's why he's not involved. I don't bloody know, do I? But Clutch, Ziyech, would you stick with Mount? And if not either of those two, who then would you go for?
I think it's a tricky one because Ziyech is one of those guys who you put out there based on how he connects with other players. I think his best connection currently, I think, is Timo. I think that is him. I think that is the two players that understand each other, at least with Ziyech in there. And especially if we're going to go for Pulisic on the left wing, they've only combined, since I've been watching these two play together, they've only combined once. And it just seems like Ziyech doesn't want to pass to him. Pulisic doesn't want to pass back. I don't know what's going on, so I wouldn't. That's the only reason why I wouldn't put Ziyech there, is because his combination play with Pulisic. But maybe this is the time to fix that. I do think Ziyech has been treated, I shouldn't say unfairly, because we don't know what's going on behind. If you are going to give him a start, probably tomorrow is the time. But if I were a guessing man, it'd probably be Mason Mount. But you know what? Let's put Ziyech there. Let's go for Ziyech.
Fair dues. And Pice, obviously, I asked you, would you start Ziyech? And you said no. But now the question is, if not Ziyech, who would you then start in that right forward, inside winger, whatever you want to call the position? Would you stick with Mount? Would you potentially go with Kai Havertz? You never know.
No, I would stick with Mount. And I hear your guys' debate about how, he needs to have a rest. He looked tired last game, but I think it's a cup semi-final, and if there's one player that I trust to bounce back in that front three after a bad performances, I'd say it's Mount. I don't trust Ziyech. I don't know whether that's an unpopular opinion, but I don't think it is. I don't know. I'm a bit iffy on Ziyech. Always have been. I'm not saying he can't deliver. It's a big game. Ziyech has performed in big games before, but I think I'd stick with Mount. Just because I think his mentality, first and foremost, like, it's against Spurs. I think, I might be getting a bit of a, Yadar vibe here, but, he knows how much the rivalry is. You know what I mean? I think he's up for this game. So, and I think he has the quality to bounce back. So, I think I'd stick with him as long as his fitness is fine. But, I mean,
Mount's fitness is always fine.
Yeah, like, that's the point. Like, I'm sure Tuchel will ask him, and if it's fine, I think he starts. I don't think there's a reason to be dropped. I mean, I thought Man City was on the weekend, but I'm wrong. So now I think I start an even stronger team, and I think Mount is in that front three.
That is fair. We do have a super chat here by Yassine. Appreciate the donation, saying Pies agenda again. Bit harsh, not an agenda from Pies. Saying Mount wasn't great lately. True. But then lately means the last 2 games, because literally before the last 2 games, he scored in 4 games in a row. So saying lately is literally 2 games.
Who have I
Putting
got
aside
an
the
agenda
goal,
on now?
exactly. Putting
Who is it
aside the
now?
goal was awful.
God's sake.
Disagree. Was awful until the goal. After that was actually very good and arguably our best non-defensive player or offensive player, shall we say, even though he played right wing back. Callum, no comment, fair enough. And Ziyech was good before the pain against Wolves. Now that part is what I might disagree with, because no one was good against Wolves. And we were awful. That goes for every single player that started and came on in that game. They were all bad. So yeah, I'm going to have to say that. I mean, fair enough. If you think Pulisic was awful completely aside from the goal, fair enough. Callum, no comment, fair enough. If you think Mount hasn't been great lately, also fair enough. But I don't think you can say Ziyech was good against Wolves until he came off. Also, that's so long ago, that doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm sorry. I do have to say that. Meant games before Wolves. I don't even remember how he played in the games before Wolves. He was decent, to be fair, now I think back to it. There was a couple of where he was decent, although there was people that actually had split opinions. Like I remember Pice thinking he wasn't good against United. Well, I thought he was pretty good against United, so I guess that's a tough one. I do have to admit, Pice has slightly convinced me to potentially go in for Mason, because I hadn't really... We are playing Spurs, and we know how games against Spurs have tended to go at the Bridge for the last few years, meaning not in terms that we bottle it, but in terms of that they're rough games and games where you need to stand up for yourself. And I mean, you could argue, should Mason have been sent off against Liverpool? No, he shouldn't have, but he at least got close enough that VAR checked it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that doesn't mean anything against us, to be honest, but still. Maybe against Spurs, I kind of just want Mount, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Maybe. So again, as much as it's boring, sorry guys, I'm going to just do the split thing on screen again, just like we did with Kepa and Conte. Because hey, if you want to, give 45 to each of these 2 as well. Why not? But Pice has slightly convinced me. I mean, Pice, before you were ever here, we have kind of agreed that Pulisic starts left wing back, not left wing back, left wing, because one of the 2 has to start right wing back, because Aspie has to start right centre back. And before, I saw someone earlier in the chat talk about Timo Werner, and I'm sure people might talk about it now. Timo Werner is not fit enough yet to start the game, according to Thomas Tuchel in the press conference. I mean, unless he was, lying or, telling us a bit of a fib, or things turn out they're actually fitter than we thought. He's not going to start. Like, he literally had 2 training sessions, and just one of which at a full training, plus then today, so that's 2 training sessions. It's not enough to start. He wasn't even on the bench against Liverpool, mind you. You saw him in the background, but he was not named on the bench. He was just, sat there because, nothing better to do than to be at the game, I suppose. So Timo won't start. Hopefully come on to give him some minutes and get back fit, but he's not going to start. And Pulisic probably should come off anyway. And especially, like I touched on a few minutes ago, we do have 5 subs, so that's a positive. But, I mean, Pice, because, Jam, Clutch, and myself have kind of already agreed it's going to be Pulisic at left wing, but would you go along with it?
Me? Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a reason to drop him from that side. Like you guys said, I thought up until the goal, he was very, very bad. But I mean, the goal was fantastic. And after it, I think it showed when he got the goal, he got a lot of confidence, I thought, into his game. I think that really helped him, that finish. And I think with our lack of options at the back, I see Hudson-Odoi at right wing back. I mean, I'd be inclined to agree, to be honest, because Chalobah's now injured. So I don't think Hudson-Odoi can start in the front 3 unless you swap Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi. But is that likely after Pulisic just scored a goal on the left? I don't think so.
But at the same time, you were not here yet when we discussed that, when I brought that up. When Callum came on, it was Callum that was in the attack, even though we switched to a 3-5-2 then. But it was Callum that was in the front 2, and Pulisic moved to wing back. That's true. Why I said if I did a predicted 11, I think it's going to be Pulisic right wing back.
That is true, but it was also 3-5-2, right? So it wasn't on the left-hand side. It was just up front with who was it with?
But
Mount?
Doesn't that even support the fact even more so? Because I mean, it was Pulisic who he picked as the false 9 when we didn't have anybody else. It wasn't Callum who played there.
I mean,
so
I think it was just
in the front 2, Pulisic even
more.
Legs.
I think it was just a case of fresh legs, to be honest. I think if you looked at the subs, who else did we have that could come on and inject pace into the game? I don't believe there was anyone close to Hudson-Odoi, so I think it was just a case of fresh legs. Yeah, Barkley was never going to come on, thankfully. Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be Pulisic.
And just to go back around through Jam and Clutch as well, obviously Lou said here, Pulisic played a lot lately, hasn't he? Isn't that too much for him? Again, I would expect him to be subbed off, but we do think he kind of has to start, don't we, Jam?
Yeah. Everyone needs to muck in. Everyone, Clutch said it earlier. I think there's like 7 players that need a rest or something like that. So, we know about Pulisic. We know that he's a bit fragile, but unfortunately, my friends, this is now your moment. You've just scored a goal. We need you to step up from there and carry on that vein of form. So, in order to do that, you need to be on the pitch. So, he's got to play. Bring him off if you have to. If you need to rest him, bring him off. But he needs to start.
Yeah, no, I would fully agree. And to be fair to him, yes, he had that one long-term injury, but he's essentially only had that one injury. Like, it's not like not like Kante that keeps getting injured. Even if it's similar injuries, he's had one injury so far this season, to be fair to him. So a bit like Ruben, it's like the fitness hasn't actually been that bad so far this season. Obviously, in the past it has, but if we go by more recent, facts, it hasn't actually been that bad. Obviously, Clutch, I know you want Pulisic to start a left wing, but anything you want to add before we discuss whether Lukaku should start or not?
No, I think somebody just said like they bet he won't start. With as much injuries and other problems that we have, players not on form, I mean, Pulisic or Cho have to play right wing back. That's just it. And if you're looking at it from a purely like running standpoint, like this guy needs rest, why would you put Pulisic, who's just played like 4 90-minute matches at one that right wing back, or a couple at right wing back, where he's pretty much running the entire game? Why do you think we wouldn't play them? Like, I don't understand why. They have to play. There's no other option. Because what are you going to do? You're going to play Mount and Ziyech? I don't think so. I mean, Mount is playing on the side. Pulisic just had his goal. He just scored. He's high on confidence. You have a whole weekend to rest him. You have a week before we have another game that actually, I think, means that we would need a player who's going to put in the goals. Like Chesterfield, I may be taking him too lightly, maybe. But I don't think we're going to need anybody that we would normally have. So, I mean, for me, he has to start. They're both starting, so Pulisic left wing makes the most sense because he's not going to do as much running on the right wing backs as he would at the right wing back.
That would actually be an interesting stat to compare, and I honestly don't know, because I wouldn't be surprised if you actually have more sprints as a forward than you do as a right wing back. Because, yeah, a few defensive sprints when you hit on the counter, obviously, but offensive sprints you definitely have way more as a forward because you make runs even when you don't get the ball. How often does that happen as a right wing back? Usually when you make a strong run, a sprint as a right wing back, you tend to get the ball. When you make them as a forward, you might make those sprints just to create space for another forward. So you could argue there's actually more sprinting to be done, even if it's less distance, but the jogging around isn't the problem for these people. They're all fit as hell. Do you know what I mean? The thing that gets you injured is sprinting, not jogging or like normal running. It's just sprinting. And maybe, arguably, it's more sprinting, but I still think Pulisic needs to start there. Obviously, we haven't mentioned Kai Havertz yet, potentially because he plays in that, what it says here, player 11 spot, but pretty sure we all agree it won't be and maybe shouldn't be. But obviously, Kai just came back from the Rona and did play, maybe more than he should have done again in the last game. If the whole Lukaku drama doesn't happen, Kai doesn't start the last game. Let's not kid ourselves. But I'm sorry, I haven't seen enough good from Kai in these behind the striker positions that I want him to start there, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, even if he was fully fit, I probably wouldn't want him to start in those positions because I haven't seen him play well enough in those positions. And yes, it's only the Carabao Cup, but it's a Carabao Cup semi final. We're now far enough into the thing for us to want to win it and nothing else. And to top things off, it's also Spurs. It's not like we're playing, I don't know, Chesterfield. I mean, it would be quite impressive because it's the League Cup, so Chesterfield can't physically be in this competition. But, if it was someone from League Two, theoretically in a semi-final, yeah, sure. But it's not. It's bloody Tottenham. So that's why I think you probably have to go for that. But let's move on to the striker. I'll go with you first, Jan. Does Lukaku start for you? Because I think we all agree that he will start for Tuchel, but does he start for you?
No.
Oh.
No. Bring him off the bench. If you know what I mean. Bring him off the bench. Let Kai Havertz start. And this is still part of his punishment. Okay, you're back in the squad, but you're on the bench, mate. Sorry, bring him off the bench, then he can make an impact. And to be fair, there's a hero chance there for him. If we need a goal and he comes off the bench, you might get it, and that might just kickstart things off in the right sort of vein for him. So, yeah, I'm still starting Havertz, man. I don't think I can bring myself to pick Lukaku yet to start anyway. And he's lucky he's in the squad, because if we had Werner there and all that, then
Hold
I
up.
might have just shocked.
Chelsea have released an interview with Lukaku.
What?
Yes. Shall I try to get this on here so we can all watch it together? Is that a thing?
Yes, please.
Oh yes. Let's get that out.
That'd be quite fun. You know what? In the meantime, I'll go to Clutch. Would you start Lukaku, because I'm trying to get this up in the meantime? But maybe this interview will affect our decision anyway, so we'll see.
I'm going to get some popcorn quickly.
You go get some popcorn, bro. Does anybody know? Is it on Twitter as well, or is it just...
Somebody just said YouTube.
Just YouTube, okay.
Well, the headline is, "I'm sorry for the upset I have caused," on YouTube.
Not for the interview you have given.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
while I have multiple tabs open, things take
Go on
a tab
YouTube,
longer for me to actually open things. So give me half a second. I'll be with you in due course.
I got it for you if you want it.
I mean, you can send the link if you want, but it's more about opening the link rather than it actually being about finding it.
It's in the private chat there, if you can open it.
There you go.
Why do I get the feeling the drama's not done yet? Why do I...
We'll see. Right. So let me get this. Just for now, let's get this lineup thing off the screen, and let me get the other thing on the screen. It's a 5-minute 48 interview. Bloody hell. A long interview.
Let's do
But
this.
I'm not sure. I've never tried to play a video here, so you'll need to tell me if you can hear it. Because if maybe you can't hear it, then it's obviously different. Well, all right, internet, what's going on? We should be fine here. What the flip?
I could... Wait, go back to the start. We can hear it.
Understand why.
Yeah, I'm trying to pause it. Well, my computer's struggling. Yeah, I'm telling you. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for the technical difficulties. I'm just trying to get it actually in decent quality before we do anything.
Romelu, first of all,
I'm not pressing play, computer. Stop.
Question, but
What's going
how
on?
have you been after the last few days and weeks?
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Why does it keep pressing play when I'm not pressing play? Auto 144p. Yeah, brilliant. That's what I love. 144p. Who isn't a fan of that? Right, let me close this here. Let me close a few tabs because apparently we're all struggling. Can you people even still hear me? I don't even know.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
I wonder if I share it, would it go better?
I mean, you can try. I mean, now it seems like it's working anyway. So let me try and press play and see what happens, okay?
Romelu, first of all, good to see you. I know it's a slightly rhetorical question, but how have you been after the last few days and weeks?
Yeah, it's been a quite hectic few days, I think, and I totally understand why. It's been tough weeks personally, COVID, trying to get back into the team and stuff. But in the end, the last two games that I played, I tried to help the team win. We succeeded in winning the game against Villa. Then, against Brighton. Very frustrated not to have won the game. Obviously, everybody at the club, and then also personally, we've been very happy through this.
Absolutely. Just on that interview, can you understand why the fans are feeling so angry and upset?
Yeah, I totally understand. I think I should have been much clearer in my message, to be honest, because the interview was about saying goodbye to the interviews. It was not about trying to disrespect the fans and the football club, the owner, my teammates and the manager and his technical staff, because they did a lot of efforts to bring me back here, and I wanted to come back here. I was on a mission since I left, so I totally understand the frustrations of the fans, but also me to make sure that I show my commitment at 100%, and I will do that for another game.
There's a part of the interview where you said that you would like to make a return to Inter during your career. You've obviously signed a 5-year deal here at Chelsea. What would you say to the fans that maybe second guessing and questioning your commitment?
No, they don't need to question that. At the end of the day, if you see, I always said, I wanted to come here to be successful. That's why I signed a 5-year deal, because I think Chelsea is a club that, is equal to success. I think all the players that come with them, they're winning, and I have a special passion for this club, and I want to achieve that also with this football club. I want to win here for many years. That's why I signed a 5-year.
Wait, there's reverb for you people? I was trying to pay attention to the actual video.
And also in the games for this.
Pause for flip's sake. Thank you. Can you hear it fine or not? You can hear it fine. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay. Well, I'll go back 10 seconds and press play again. I hope it's fine for everybody. I can lower that to like 480 or something to make it a bit easier if you think that is part of the problem, but I think it should be fine.
I want to win here for many years. That's why I signed a 5-year deal, and I want to make sure that I show my commitment in training every day, and also in the games for this football club.
With that in mind, then, there was a part of the interview where you suggested that potentially a move to Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Bayern Munich would be bigger than a move back to Chelsea.
Not at all. I think kids. What I mean by that is, you have a lot of kids. They have a certain type of dream of playing for those football clubs. My club was Chelsea. Everybody knows that. From being 10 years old, I always wanted to say that I wanted to play for Chelsea. The images when I came with my school that I wanted to play for Chelsea. So for me, I came here when I was 18. It went so well. Back here, 28, I think. In the primaries of my career, I can't really mess this up. I really worked hard for the last 7 years to get this opportunity, and I'm really happy to be here. And I think I have to show my commitment to the club, to the fans, and make sure that this football club will win games and a lot of trophies.
So it's clear from what you've been saying, Romelu, that you understand you've upset quite a few people throughout this process. With that in mind, what would be your message to the Chelsea fans at the moment?
For the fans, I'm sorry for the upsets that I caused. You guys know the connection that I have with this club since my teenage years. So, I totally understand you guys being upset. Obviously, it's up to me now to restore your trust, and I'll do my best, show commitment every day on the training ground and in the games, try to make sure that we win games. And also, to the manager, I apologize, and also to my teammates and the board, because, I think it was not the right moment also, and I want to move on forward from this and make sure that we start winning football games and I perform for the team in the best way.
In your first answer, you alluded to the fact that it's been sort of challenging on and off the pitch. Tell us about how challenging it's been to settle back into life in the UK and how you are at the moment.
It's been good, to be honest, because I must say, like, my teammates helped me a lot. I've been, the group has really done everything that they can to make sure that I settled in really well. The only thing that I miss is my family. Obviously, my mom, my boys, 2 boys at home, and that's the persons that I miss the most. But they are moving in soon, so hopefully from there I just can move on and enjoy life.
Really upset. So focusing on the football, finally, in the next few weeks, we've got Spurs 3 times in different competitions. Man City away. That's before we head out for the Club World Cup. How excited are you about the challenges that lie ahead?
Very excited. I think these are the moments where you want to play football for. These are the moments that you should play football for. So I think as a team, we're going to prepare ourselves in the best way. I think the manager is going to set up a plan for us to make sure we're successful. That's what we want at this football club. So I'm really excited for this time, for sure.
When we first spoke back in the summer, I know you spoke about the winning mentality. And that moment where you looked at the boys' eyes in the tunnel of the Champions League final, you knew they were going to win it. It is a special group. You're currently in 5 competitions. What do you think collectively is achievable now this year?
A lot. think about. You have to believe and take it a game at a time. You cannot look too much forward. I think now we have a very important game against Spurs, where we have to make sure that we set the tone from the first minute. Looking back at the game against Liverpool, I think we showed people that we can compete. We're unlucky enough to get the win, but if we set the same tone and we keep that momentum going and turn those draws into games, I think it can be a very exciting season for us.
Well, there you bloody go, ladies and gentlemen. Pice left. Didn't even see that he left. But anyway, maybe he'll be back. Maybe he won't, and we'll see. But don't really know yet. I feel I'm going to watch that a couple of times. Instant reaction, Jam?
I'm not really too sure what more he could have done. I said that he has to apologise because it's going to hurt his ego. I think that would have done. I'm happy it was a video and he's just addressed it as in he did a video to piss us off, a video interview. So it's only fair he's done a video interview here. He's covered the points. I'll have to listen to it back again to really analyse every single thing he said. For me, it's probably the start of the process of forgiving him, but he really needs to show what he can do on the pitch. People saying that now he's apologised, move on. Just remember that you're okay with moving on. Not everyone else is, and we need to respect that everyone else is at different points. Imagine if you broke up with your girlfriend or boyfriend, and then you've got people coming to you going, "Oh, just move on, just move on." You'd be like, "Whoa, hang on, I need to get over this in my own time." So I think everyone's a bit different. Just remember that, people. For me personally, it's a step in the right direction, but I now need to see him performing on the pitch to help me with that. So yeah, credit for doing it. But I mean, when I say credit for doing it, I mean that's the bare minimum that I expected. So it is what it is.
Exactly. I will give a shout out. I think is Lee Parker who did the interview, or was it the other guy from The Voice? I think it was Lee.
Yeah, it sounds like Lee. Yeah.
If it was Lee, I think he's done a good job. And I mean, obviously, it was clearly pre-planned what he's going to say, but still, they asked better, more like questions that was like uncomfortable for Lukaku than I expected them to, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But I will say, and a couple of people have said it in the chat already, it's not the best look that he ended up smiling while saying sorry. But I don't think that was a smile. Not taking this seriously. I think this was a smile of, I am so uncomfortable right now. As no one would whether he thinks was a mistake or not, no one likes to have to say sorry to a camera. But not good to smile during literally while he says sorry, smiling it's not the best idea. Pice, I'm not sure when exactly you left. Maybe you left to watch it for yourself, which is totally fine, of course. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I was bugging out a little bit for me, so I just went to watch one of the clips. But I mean, it's a weird one. I think the ultimate goal now is, as he said, it's up to me to get back your trust on the pitch, right? So he needs to perform on the pitch. That's the main thing. I mean, the interview seemed genuine enough, but again, I do agree. I think it's Lee Parker, right? He pressed the most. What do you call it? Important topics. Yeah, he pressed the most important topics. The things he said, like the Real Madrid, like he wanted to get Lukaku to clarify these things. Now, we'll never know whether he's telling the truth or not. That's the thing about interviews. We'll never know. We'll never know what deep down he's thinking. But I will say it did seem genuine enough. And I mean, yeah, I don't really have too much words on it. Just perform on the pitch, score goals. And then we'll see what happens in the summer, right? So, yeah, I think that's the main thing now. But I'm happy. The one thing I will say is I'm happy it's a video interview. If it was a written statement, I would have been like, "Oh, just do one," like, because it's just PR.
No point even reading it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with this, it shows a bit more effort, a bit more genuineness in it. I think for me, because you can easily just say, "Oh no, I don't want to do a video. I'm feeling bad," or I'll just do a written statement. But the fact that he's agreed to sit down for an interview, because the club can't force him to do anything. The fact he's agreed shows like a bit more willingness to actually mend things with the Chelsea fans, in my opinion. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm 100% sure he's going to start tomorrow, by the way. 100% sure.
We'll get to that question, whether you would start him as well, in just a minute. I just want to get Clutch's thoughts as well on the interview. Clutch, how do you see it? Because I've seen people in the chat, some people say he's looked like he's been forced. Obviously, Pice now said it looked sincere. I think the fact that we've seen both opinions already is shows the problem with these apologies, interviews, blah, blah, blah. You kind of take it, not how you want to take it, not at all, but everyone takes it slightly differently. But Clutch, how did you see it?
I think Chelsea handled that perfectly. The video interview conducted by them, not letting him go off on his own so they can kind of control the situation, is the perfect way to go about it. But to the people saying, yeah, it seems fake, I mean, you go apologize to 16 million people who this just got tweeted to on Twitter. Tell me how you like that. You're not going to like that. So, if anything, this is how you start the healing process. And the people who are also saying, Jam's analogy wasn't good. Lukaku's relationship between us and the fan is a relationship. It has to be mended now. That is what it is. That is how we're seeing it. I mean, he hurt our trust. Now he has to earn it back. He did the only thing at this moment that he can do to correct it, and that's to come out and say, "I'm sorry. All I can do is show you through action that I am sorry." I mean, that's all he can do. You can say whatever you want. People say words all the time that don't mean anything. His actions, what come later, are what's going to make the difference. He did what he can do, and I'm content with it. I'm ready to start the process backwards. Am I completely forgiving him at this moment? No, you will not at this moment. But it is only about what he does from here on out. And it seems like he's ready to change our opinions on him. It can't have been easy to do that. And I said 16 million followers, so that's on Twitter alone. That's not even counting YouTube or Instagram or even the Fifth Stand app downloads, however many people that ends up being. He just went out and embarrassed himself. So I guarantee you, for this at this point, I mean, he has to have known that he's done something wrong, and it's not going to happen again. So for me, it is on that path to redemption for him. I think that is the way we're going. But like Jam said, everybody has the entitled to feel how they feel. I mean, Rom's entitled to feel that he maybe doesn't feel Chelsea's his home, and that Inter is. That is his feeling.
I feel that, but then I don't want him here.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. You're entitled to whatever you feel, and however you feel, how you go about grieving, how you go about changing the opinions on somebody. That's how you feel about it. For me, I feel like he's done the steps that he needs to go on his path to redemption.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. It is. I mean, I said in the beginning of the stream, I need an apology to even make a decision of which way I want to go. Do I think it was perfect? Yes, maybe I'm reading too much into smiling while saying sorry, but it's just not ideal. But like I also said, I mean, whatever the number is, I'm pretty sure he doesn't sit there and think about how many people this is currently shared to. I mean, having done YouTube for a little while and obviously he doesn't do YouTube videos as such, but, he's still used to being in the public eye. So I don't think that is the big issue with it. I think it's just awkward for anybody to say sorry to a camera. But I completely agree with Melinda's comment here. If you're stupid enough to get out there and embarrass the club, the fans, yourself, your manager, the manager is just one manager of the year, Champions League, Super Cup. I mean, the Super Cup, by the way, we only had one because you missed the penalty last time we played in it. No, not last time. We lost it once since then. Fair enough. But still. But then you have to deal with the consequences. So I'm not going to feel sorry for him because he had to do this interview now, and it was probably not easy to do. He put himself into that position. But I still understand that it probably wasn't an easy thing to do. Do I now fully know whether he meant this now, or whether he feels like he actually did something wrong, or whether this is just even though I don't think I did so much wrong, I have to say sorry now because clearly everyone else is pissed off, so I need to. I don't know. But I do agree with what Clutch said. It is a start of redemption. But it's not going to be forgiven and forgotten tonight. But now I think we're at a point where we can at least start to move on. And then we see where we are in the summer. Like I touched on earlier with the example, Diego Costa wanted to leave in January. Then that's apparently was, sorted out. And then we know what Conte texted Diego after the FA Cup final. So who knows whether this will be sorted forever now or just until the summer. We'll only know more about that in the summer. But do excuse me. I'm not saying we have to have moved on, but I think to be honest, no, I'm not going to tell anybody what they should be thinking or doing. I think for me, it's just, I'm going to try and just start to move on past it. And the better he plays, the more he on the pitch seems like he's trying. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I want him to look more like Mount while playing than look like Barkley or Hakim Ziyech when playing. Do you know what I mean? Again, no offense to Hakim Ziyech, but he just has this face where he doesn't look bothered so much, even though he's not actually that unbothered. But I want him to look bothered. I need him to look bothered, and that's slowly gonna shift things. Jam, I asked you initially, did it change for you whether he should start in your head or not?
No.
No,
it didn't. I'll just explain quickly why. I think for me, this was a step in the right direction. I wasn't waiting just for this apology to then go, oh, okay, everything's fine now. I need to process it. If you mess up with, let's say, your boss at work, you might come late for a while. Your boss is going to be angry at you for a little while, even after you say sorry. Do you know what I mean? That's another analogy. You can say shit in the comments if you want, but I'm just painting a different picture. It does take time, even with this. So, for me, I personally would want him on the bench and bring him on if need be. And if you don't need him, sorry, you're on the bench. Peak.
It is true. Obviously, everyone will have different opinions. And like I said, we can have a discussion, or not discussion. We can just wait and see what Tuchel actually goes with. Let me ask you, Clutch. For you, not what you expect to happen, but for you. Do you think, would you start Lukaku? And then you can obviously explain whether the interview has at all affected your decision.
I think in terms of, I would like to get ahead now. I think Lukaku is probably the best way to go about that. But also in my head, I think from what I've been seeing, our best combination front three currently is Havertz, Mount, and Pulisic, because they were the ones that did that went on the tear against Crystal Palace last year. I think they look fluid together. But when I sit here and I think about the game and I think, oh, Eric Dyer is going to be the center back, I think Lukaku is going to have to go up against him. That'll be a field day for that guy. But I think you can still come on later, so I'm going to go with Havertz, just to kind of hammer it in a little bit more, just as, hey, you're still not 100% forgiven, but come off the bench, show us what you can do. And like Jam said, you can have that little bit of late heroics if you need to.
Fair. And then Pice, you said you're 100% sure that Lukaku will start, but would you start him?
I think I will, because I think he's going to have an adrenaline rush, personally. I think, especially with Conte being the manager on the other team, I think he's going to want to get one over, that competitiveness between them two. And I think this is the perfect game to come back in from the start and whack home some goals. I think if you bring him off the bench, I don't know if he's going to have the impact that he would if he starts, for me personally. And with their centre-backs being, like you said, Eric Dyer and who else is going to play, I'm not too sure. But I think it could be the perfect game for him. I think he'll have an adrenaline rush. And I think without this apology, I wouldn't have started him. And it's not for me to say that 100% forgive him. But as I said before, I like that it's in video form. If it was a PR written statement, I wouldn't have liked it. But I like it's in video form. I like that it's 5 minutes. I like that he's addressed all the pressing topics without, again, winding up the Chelsea fans. His choice of words seems smart for once. Whether or not he means it, we don't know. But I personally think he should start, just because, he's a world-class striker. I don't want to leave him out for too long if the issue's dead now, or at least sort of resolved. You know what I mean? I don't see that as a pro for us. And I also think Havertz was terrible last game, so there's that as well. So yeah, I would start him and see what he does. If he doesn't show commitment, you can always hook him off. But I would start him, yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, and because I make these streams, videos, whatever you can record them, I shouldn't be. But to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know. And I'm sorry that I'm sitting on the fence like that. I just don't know. Because there's different things. Like on the one hand, I agree with what Pice just said. On the other hand, I agree with what Jam just said. On the other hand, I'm thinking through my head, Kepa with the whole not coming off in the cup final, which to me was still more of a misunderstanding rather than purely disrespect. He was benched for one game. I think what Lukaku did here is way worse. I don't know. I can't remember if Kepa was just benched or if he was in the squad, but it doesn't matter.
Kepa cost us a cup final, bro. I think Kepa's was worse, personally. Not to the fans, but to the club.
But you don't know. Yeah. But we are judging as fans, though, right? Aren't we? I felt more disrespected by Lukaku as a fan and for my club than I did by Kepa, because you can't say we lost it because of Kepa, because you don't know if Caballero wins it for us. You can say he might do, but you don't know.
Well, I mean...
No, there's literally physically no way.
I know, but like he knew every single one of City's takers. He's one of the best.
Yeah, but they also know that he knows. So maybe they just went opposite corner every time.
I mean, we're gonna have a difference of opinion on this, but I was fucking fuming with Kepa, and I was fuming with Lukaku. But I remember like that being live in front of me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was in front of that. I was watching on my TV. I saw that shit. Like I didn't see, like, it's not like Lukaku posted the interview and on Twitter or something. I was like, oh my God, what's this? With Kepa, it was like so, you know what I mean? It was so in front of me that Lukaku's was more of a reaction, where like a reaction as time passed on, whereas like Kepa's was so raw that I felt just so angered by it. I always remember it, and I won't go back on my word. I always remember how pissed off I was with him. I literally wanted him sold straight away. I wanted him out. Like I never wanted him to play again, because especially the wink he did at the camera, bro. Oh my God, that sent me like, oh bro, I was pissed with him. I was so angry.
I mean, fair. I was angry too. I was more confused. I was like, what on earth is going on? But I get what you're saying. Regardless, what I was trying to say, for me, I felt more disrespected, but I still think this is worse than what Kepa did. Fair enough if you disagree. So for me, it's like, just because it's worse, I feel like it just needs to be 2 games, at least. But the problem is also, it's a cup semi-final against Spurs. Like, I'd rather win. I'd definitely much rather win with Lukaku than lose without him. Do you know what I mean? So, and especially if he's going to play the second leg anyway, which he will. So, there's no point. So that's why I think I'm going to pick Lukaku. But to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know. We've done it twice already. We might as well do it a third time and put Lukaku / Havertz. But I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And I do apologize for sitting on the fence like this. I'm not usually one to sit on the fence much, but hey, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the last thing that we need to do is give a score prediction. I hate first legs, by the way. I really hate first legs, because even after the game tomorrow, unless we win like 4-0, means nothing. Well, not means nothing, but it's only like half time essentially. So it's like, who does a post-game stream at half time? No one. It's because you still have got another half to go. So I'm like, I hate this. And it's what triggers me about Champions League as well. I'm like, at least this is 1 week later, because the Champions League is almost like 2 weeks later. I'm like, no. Do you know what I mean? But score predictions. I go with you first, Clutch. What do you reckon?
I just accidentally double tapped the unmute button. I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea. I think we're going to go out there and get a result. I think we're going to be defensively stable. Kane hasn't been really in the best of form. So I do think Aspie can deal with Son. Really not much else threat that they're going to have. If they bring Dele Alli, I'm going to love that, because we get to watch Dele Alli have another stinker. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea.
Fair. I won't sit on the fence this time, but I will go last. Jam, what is your score prediction?
Cheeky loss. I'd say 2-1. 2-1. Yeah, I think they'll get a goal. It'll be a jammy goal as well. Just one of those weird like corners, like, or something to just piss me off. I can feel it. But I think we win the game. And Pulisic to get another goal.
I like it. I like it. I'm sure Clutch is a fan. But Pice, what's your score prediction?
3-1. I'm feeling confident. I think if we play, it's weird because I'm going to describe it like if we play the way we did against Liverpool, I think we batter them. But then that can also be taken two sides because there was so much space in the midfield. Like we was getting destroyed as well on the other end. So,
yeah.
But I think more defensively resolute, sort the shape out a bit. Yeah, I'm going with 3-1. I think we'll be able to get at Spurs' defence. I don't think. I mean, this is such a big game for us. I just don't think they see it as big a game. Like I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I always think with Chelsea, Tottenham, we always outfight them, outwork them. You know what I mean? That's why we win a lot. I think it's just down to quality as well. But I just think we won it more.
Well, last time we played, we
Tottenham.
won 3-0, obviously. So
Yeah, and I think we're just a much better team than them. Obviously, with Conte, it's going to be a bit different because he's going to install a different mentality into the Spurs players, probably. I haven't watched too much of Tottenham, but, I mean, their threats are always just Son, Kane, and maybe Lucas. Like, for me, they don't have an all-round threat like Chelsea. Like, with Chelsea, I don't know who's going to score going into the game if we score. You know what I mean? It's always... could be a defender, it could be a penalty, it could be... You know, Alonso could end up scoring. You don't know. Like, Kovacic could score a screamer again. Like, it's just... We're unpredictable, and I think Spurs are predictable. So I'm going with 3-1. I say we're going to concede because we just haven't been defensively good in a little while now. So I think they get a goal, but I think we're going to win, yeah.
And as much as that's boring now, I'm going to agree. I was going to go 3-1 all this time. But hey, here we are. Yeah. And that hopefully that 2-goal cushion is hopefully going to be a good cushion to take it to the second game. But one thing I will say, Marcos Alonso, if you ever see this, please have a good game. Because if there's one guy that knows how to, well, make you play at your best, arguably, but also make you probably look at your shittest, it's probably Antonio Conte. So please, for the love of all that's mighty, have a good game, please. Like, if Alonso costs us this game tomorrow, I'm going to flip my shit. Do you know what I mean? Against Conte, especially, who put this man to this club. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll absolutely flip. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, not just ladies and gentlemen that work for Chelsea Football Club, do not copyright me for showing this interview. It's your player that messed this up, so better behave. Anyway, if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, which I basically haven't told you all stream today, make sure you subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, getting ever closer to especially 13,000 subscribers, and every new subscriber counts. So go down below, hit that big red subscribe button for me, get subscribed, and smash the like button for me as well, because we have nearly 300 people watching. We had over 300 people earlier. All drama with Lukaku. Interview bloody shown live while we were on air. I was thinking I do just cut this short and I just watch it after, but no, we had to make it work. So that's what we did. So smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out all of my 3 lovely guests on Twitter and all of the other social channels that they have. Down in the description below, obviously, Carefree Jam, CFC Pies, and sorry, Clutch, I forgot your new handle. You changed it. Clutch CFC something?
It's that one. Yeah, Clutch CFC.
Clutch CFC without something. Just Clutch CFC. So follow all of these guys on Twitter. Of course, check out Pies' website as well. But yeah, big shout out to all of you 3 guys. Johnny said, Jam is great. Have him on more. I will try, bro. I will try. It's more down to Jam's schedule rather than anything else.
It's on me. It's on me. I've got a weird schedule, but I'll happily be on, man. It's always a laugh being on here. Thanks, man.
There you go.
Thanks, Johnny, as well.
Appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, I've already said that. Thank you guys for watching After Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. Let's see what happens with Lukaku tomorrow. Let's see what happens against Conte tomorrow. And I'll see you next time.